So welcome to the Early Years Insight. This is the first episode, so welcome to all our listeners. I'm Cathy Leatherbarrow from Eden, and today's guest is Heather Clark-Kelly from the Sunflower Day Nursery in Partley Bridge. Welcome, Heather.
Hello there.
Shall we start with community?
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, these little ones, aren't they? We want them to invest in their community.
Yeah. So to me, it's sort of double. I see it from two angles. So, yes, the children, very much see themselves as part of their community, and that's really important, that they know where they're from and they know where they live and they know what's around them. But also, it has a opposite effect in that if the community values what you're doing as an early years setting, then that really helps you as a business, and it raises the profile. And like we mentioned before, staff are really proud to come from that setting because it's already got a high representation in the community.
It's well thought.
It's well thought of. Yeah. And that those two things sort of bounce off each other really, really nicely, because again, if you're well thought of in the community, then more companies and businesses and small businesses in the community are more likely to help you out as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, when our children are going for a walk into Partley Bridge where we are, people will come to the shop door and wave, and and they'll be invited in and invited into the vegetable shop to look at the vegetables and given a little piece of fruit to take away each or whatever. And it's having that your presence embedded in the place that you're practicing from and working from, which just makes it be really lovely.
And it's hard for busy working parents, isn't it, to take the time to really encourage their children to learn about where they live, what's important to them, why they live where they live,
absolutely,
what goes on.
Yeah, totally. And we're seeing we've got more full-time children in nursery now than we've ever had before. So children that are attending the setting for 5 days a week, more hours than any of our staff do, because our staff work parts of days, 3 or 4 days a week, whatever. So we've suddenly realised that actually these children have got a real big need to go out into the community and go to the library and go to the shops and go to the park and do all those things, because they're not getting the opportunity to do that with mum or dad at home.
Well, the pressure's on for parents to work, isn't there?
Totally. And it's a big thing, and we're playing a really big part of their life. So if those children know what is in their town, what is in their village, they can talk about it, and they've got that sense of belonging that is really important for small people too.
So what kind of trips do you do to encourage that and to make it part of their holistic development?
Yeah, so we're an incredibly rural area. We're not particularly on a bus route, and there's 2 or 3 buses a day that we could get on one route out of the town that we're in. So we try to do lots of little trips out. We've organised swimming lessons, and we're very lucky that we're next to the local swimming pool. So the children, our preschoolers, go swimming twice a week. They go individually once a week, but they've got the option of coming. We take them twice a week, if that makes sense. And that's a really big thing again, because parents, if you're working full time, you don't get a chance to go and have a splash around much, during the week or whatever. And that's been a really great thing. For our
and also swimming's not just about splashing around and having fun in the water, is it? It's a skill. It's a life skill, isn't it?
People are getting used to going out as part of a group. They're looking after their belongings. They're getting changed. It's a lot of self-care is in there. Again, making links up at the swimming pool. So on a Wednesday in particular, the group of ladies that's in the pool before our children are doing, I think it's called Pilates. Instead of Pilates, it's Pilates.
Oh, so like a water yoga exercise class.
Yes, so as they're getting out, our children are coming in and they're recognising them. But again, that's building that link within the community, because those ladies, they often come up to me in the street, so many little ones are swimming, they're so well behaved, and and it's lovely. We again really look at lots of green spaces around where we are, and there's a Millennium Park, and it's got big willow weavings and a pond. So again, in the summer we've been able to go pond dipping. In winter, just running around, there's a big caterpillar that's been weaved out of willow. But again, we've got a very small volunteer-run library in the town as well. So going down to the library and going down to the shop to buy snack, all those little bits. It doesn't have to be a full-on outing. You know, it can be a few children going out with a couple of members of staff.
And that's what makes the community more
absolutely
knowledgeable and prevalent, isn't it?
Yeah, and trying to get the community involved. So, you know, really recently we had Burns Night, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? So we put out a request to see if anybody locally played the bagpipes, because we thought that would be a lovely thing for the children to see. Thankfully they didn't, but we did have a lady, one of my mummies, who played the fiddle.
Oh, okay.
So she came in and played some Scottish reels for us, and the children just a Scottish dance.
Oh, how lovely.
But again, you know, that was something that we could share with the community. And we've got a Facebook page, and we are quite active on that. We don't put any pictures of the children on our Facebook page at all. But again, the community knowing that we're doing things like that, you know, it's really lovely.
And do you have any of them approach you to, you know, join in on a joint venture?
We get lots of people asking if we would like things. It's from the little guy who lives up the road, who's got a cat, and he always brings his old cat food boxes down for us to, you know, to do jump
modelling
things like that. Yes, yeah. We've got another lady that brings us egg boxes, lots of egg boxes. We put a plea on our Facebook page, for example, for spare trousers and pants and socks and things, and we got bundles
inundated
by that. So people are really invested. More recently as well, we did a fundraiser for children in need, and we did a cake stall in the nursery, but we ran a raffle as well, and loads of the local businesses all gave, you know, vouchers and things like that for our prizes.
Oh, that's nice.
We ended up raising, you know, over £1,000 for children in need for a very small nursery. But again, it was a community venture.
Small businesses particular, I presume that'd be very hard for them to donate to
totally.
You know, a prize at the moment.
Made sure we were really reciprocal. So again, give them space on our Facebook page, you know, to say what they've done. And yeah, it was lovely. It was really lovely. And we are, again, the community where we live is very community, so we are really lucky.
Yes, I presume then you don't need to cover the typical topic about the community, because it's embedded into
absolutely
daily nursery life.
Yeah, lots of our, like, when you look at pre-reading in our preschool room, our staff have gone out and taken photographs, for example, of shop signs in the village.
So it's really this recognisable font and print.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, you know, they're saying, "Can you read?" And then looking at the sign that says Spa, and they're like, "That's, you know, it's the Spa," and it's like, "You can read," and because they're knowing the shape of it, it makes sense. But again, you know, it's knowing that it's there. Again, with our community, things like last night we had a staff meeting, so we use our local pizza shop, for example, to go and get pizzas for the staff meeting for the staff. So, you know, we want those businesses to know that we're supporting them, you know, locally as well. I'm just trying to do the various bits, really. But again, with the children, you know, they're very protective about the park, and that's my park, and they go, "That's my park, it's my park, and it's my park." You know, they recognise that they've got the same shared
familiar
spaces. And things like the vets. If you go to our local vets, there's a big canvas mural on the wall that the children painted many years ago. I went in the other day, and it's still
there.
Yeah, it must be like 18 years ago, I think we painted it.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
still there on the wall.
Looking a bit faded, maybe.
A bit faded, but a little sign still that says, you know, Sunflowers Day Nursery. But yeah, it's lovely, you know, and it's things like that just, you know, if the children can have those things that they're in common with other children.
Yeah, because I know there was a lot of media attention to early years children going into local care homes, wasn't there?
Right.
Have you ever done that?
Oh, so
yes. I have experienced that myself.
Yeah. So in our other setting, we used to have another nursery up in Northallerton. And that was right next to a care home, so they did do that quite frequently. We don't have a care home at all in Paterbridge anymore. We used to, probably shut down about 6-7 years ago. So previously we did like Christmas songs and things like that. But I think that is cross-generational learning is so important. Yeah. And if we had the opportunity to do that, that would definitely be something.
So what did you find that the children benefited from that they wouldn't necessarily get from the setting?
Sometimes a lot of children don't have, you know, easy access to grandparents, and just children, adults who've got different life experiences. Yeah. Singing along, you know, people who have got time to stop and speak to them as well. Yeah. You know, it's a different thing, and it's
not an adult passing by and saying hello, is it?
They're embedded.
They want to engage. Don't
certainly
they?
Some of the pictures that I've seen, you know, in Nursery World, iMagazine, about, you know, settings that fundamentally endorse that. Yeah. I think it's amazing, you know, those opportunities. It just develops understanding, doesn't it? And understanding of different people, different ways of life. different aspects, different points of view, you know, all those things.
Time.
Yeah, it's time. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures as well of some of the, you know, the older ladies in particular holding on to babies, you know, giving them a cuddle, and that must be so powerful for them as adults, you know, remembering their own children.
I know dolls are used with dementia.
Yes,
adults, aren't they? Because they bring a lot of comfort and calmness.
And that must be such a lovely, you know, a lovely thing, to be able to, you know, do that. And that's something, you know, if we had the opportunity, definitely would explore that further. One of the big things as well we're doing in our village, we've got, well, I'd say village town. It's one of those medium
sized.
Yeah, a small town. We've got a big agricultural show each year.
Oh, nice.
So about 10, 12 years ago, we were approached by the show to ask if we would provide the family facilities, if you like. And we've gone from being in a really sort of small tent to having, you know, 12 years later, this huge marquee that they provide for us, but we provide, you know, activities, nappy changing area. We sell healthy packed lunches because, you know, at agricultural shows quite often it is, you know, chips, burgers.
Yeah, your burger vans.
So we do like healthy packed lunches from there. But again, it's such an opportunity for families who've been with us 10, 20 years ago to come back.
To revisit.
Yeah, because they know we're going to be there every year. It's just a way that the nursery, you know, is embedded in the community.
Well, it's part of their family, isn't it?
Totally.
Part of that, you know. It's like my children are 13 and 16.
Yeah.
And they are still in touch with the adults that looked after them as being little.
It's really interesting. You should say that.
Yeah, and they are part of. They are part of their history, their life story. You know, and they think back very fondly of them. Yeah. And, you know, and consider them to be, you know, really happy, important adults within their childhood.
Totally. We've got just yesterday we had one girl who's come back to do 2 days work experience from her sixth form school, and then we had 3 of the year 8, year 9 girls from the high school next door come to do their D.V. volunteer experience with us as well.
That's nice.
And so to have 4 of them back in the building who all, you know, had attended nursery, you know, a few years ago, well, 10, 12 years ago.
It feels only a few years ago, doesn't it?
It really does. It's just amazing. You know, we've got to a point now where we've employed a couple of our old children, you know, that were there when we first opened. And certainly some as well whose children are coming back to us, starting with us, you know, from when they were, you know, our children's children, if that makes sense. And
yes,
it is. It's like such a sense of joy that we've got, you know, that returning story,
nice,
if that makes sense.
Because,
with so many families.
Because you valued a lot into that family as well, haven't you? You've invested a lot.
Absolutely. We're the first many people talk to on a morning. Your first adult conversation that a parent might have had that morning. And, you know, it's a big part of their lives, you know. And
probably the adult that, you know, that they could say nothing to if needed, and also cry on if they needed.
Very many mornings. It's, you know, it's not to be underestimated, really. Especially with families that don't have, you know, close family close by. You know, we are that extended family. You know, we're people that can help out at the last minute. And, you know, we're there for people's joys, you know, through births and marriages and house moves, but also through really sad times as well, you know, supporting families, you know, through losses and marriage breakdowns and, you know, illnesses and all those things. Yeah. You know, and we talk about that, you know, nursery is a community within itself, so it's almost like a community within a community. You know, we open our arms and welcome Sunflower's families. You know, you become a family, part of a big family, don't you? The nursery that you're working in, and it's really important. You know, it's really important to get it right, and just have that balance between, you know, being the educator, being the carer, but also being that support network, you know, for the family.
Element of counselling in with early years practitioners, isn't there?
Huge amount. Yeah. I mean, something I've had to hold dear for myself, and, you know, same with our team as well. You know, whilst we're all working really hard to support the families, none of us should be working harder than the family is themselves, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if that balance shifts, then that's when you've sort of got to stop and address the situation a little bit, because we don't want to hold these families hostage, you know, where they are. They've got to be able to move on, you know, and grow as well.
Yeah, and they've got to make their own mistakes as well, haven't they? Totally. Whether that's, you know, their life as an individual or their life as a family, and ups and downs, and doesn't come with a guidebook, does it? In a right and wrong way.
Yeah, we've all got those families that we take home with us, if that makes sense in our head, and children that we worry about. When we're going to sleep, sometimes the last thought that we've had is of a child that is struggling at home, or a family that is struggling at home, and the first thought when you wake up is like, oh gosh, I hope they're coming in today. I hope they've had breakfast. I hope they're able to get there. I hope everything's gone okay. And you've always got those families that you're worrying about, within your head, if that makes sense, that you carry with you. And again, going back to the community, that's a really tricky thing as well, because quite often, from a confidentiality point of view, you will get lots of people in the community coming to you and saying, oh, how's so-and-so? I hear they're having a hard time, or my grandchild comes to you, or wasn't it, who is it that bit my son? And it's about having that, that level of confidentiality and professionalism as well. Because whilst you're in a very close-knit community, people within that community need to know that you are professional, and need to know that you're able to maintain confidentiality, and need to know that you're not going to be chatting about, what the very exciting things sometimes you've found out. But it's all those things
very
together.
Exciting things.
Sometimes it's after the first people to hear something, really, you sat on a big, exciting, juicy bit of gossip that you cannot share with anybody. But that's part of being a human as well.
It is. It's never.
Yes. But yeah, it's a really privileged role, isn't it? It's really privileged, but again, it's high pressure, and it's not to be underestimated.
But also that gives families confidence, doesn't it? That that you're respectful as well,
absolutely.
Isn't it? To their individual needs, wishes, and wants, and ultimately you're going to protect that child.
It goes both ways, doesn't it? If you've got that respect for them, then they're going to have that respect back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the same, I think, with anything.
So I think we've all been there, haven't we? We all want to know who that child was that scratched your daughter or your son's finger, arm, or whatever.
They tell them, they totally tell them. But again,
little Johnny scratched me today.
But it totally is how that professional stance that you take.
And how it's approached.
Yeah, I mean, I just often just smile at the parents, and I can't tell you that, because they know, they know that they can't, I can't discuss that, and certainly, with staff who maybe babysit and things like that, that's one of the big things that we tell them, and when they're supporting the families that they're babysitting, supporting the staff when they're going to families that they're babysitting for, and we're saying, look,
do you find that works quite well? Because I know a lot of settings don't allow staff to do, work for families outside.
Yeah, for us it does.
Nursery.
Again, was an early years career is not a highly profitable career, so if they can bolster their income a little bit with a bit of extra babysitting, we're not going to stop staff from doing that. And it's the same way that parents will often ask staff, because these staff know their children. They know they're getting a qualified member of staff. They know they've got a member of staff with a first aid certificate, qualification.
And ultimately, an adult that knows their child well.
Knows their child really well. So we have a babysitting policy that we give out to parents and that we give out to staff. And that just very clearly delineates who, they're babysitting as individuals. They're not babysitting as part of our company. They're not being employed by us whilst they're babysitting. However, there is an element of confidentiality. You mustn't, please don't ask the staff awkward questions, because they're not going to answer them, kind of thing. And explain to the staff as well that just get a blanket answer. So, I'm sorry, I can't speak about that, because ultimately that's going to breed the respect back again, that they know they're not going to be chattering about.
And that they're very privileged to be able to have such a highly qualified babysitter.
Yeah, and they respect that as well, I think. We always have a notebook, so we know which staff are babysitting for which families. So from that safeguarding point of view, it's a very open book. It's not, nothing is done secretly, if that makes sense. And it's part of being a professional member of staff. It's such a big shady area, isn't it? Because, in a school, a teacher wouldn't babysit for, one of their pupils, because that would be seen as really, crossing a boundary. But again, I think in early years, the boundary's already been crossed, because you are dealing with such intimate care needs. The staff are professionals, and as long as they're going about every aspect of their life, as professionals, then they're doing the right thing. They've got that safeguarding training. They know what to do and how to carry themselves. But again, from the parents' point of view, they've got a DBS check, qualified member of staff, with a first aid certificate and intimate knowledge of their child. So, it's win-win really for them, isn't it?
Position.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have many farms in your area? Do you have links with farmers for...
Yes. Yeah, we have children turning up on quad bikes, children turning up in tractors to nursery. Oh yes. We have parents who request more time for their children, say at lambing time and things like that. They need more sessions for their children.
How cool is that? Turning up to nursery on a tractor.
Oh, coolest kids ever.
Wow.
Kids ever. Yeah. The kudos in nursery goes very high if you turned up on a tractor. It's a very important moment in the child's life.
Gosh.
Yeah. It's quite exciting actually as well. Where we are, so literally we're in the Nidderdale Valley. So directly opposite nursery, you've just got rolling hills, because we're sort of in the bottom of the valley. And it's like 3 fields worth of farmable land. So 2-3 times a year, you've just got tractors whizzing up and down, cutting the grass, baling the hay. We don't have to do anything on those days. The children will actually get a chair and just sit in front of the window watching the tractors. They think it's the best thing ever.
And it is.
Oh, yeah, completely. It feeds into so much as well, So a lot of our play, is based around mud, tractors. We had one little boy years ago that used to do muck spreading in our garden at nursery. And it was just that, and consisted of just getting big buckets full of mud, chucking it everywhere that he could. The wall was covered in mud, but it made complete sense to him. He was muck spreading.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, no, so farming is a big part. Presents its challenges as well. So again, Nidderdale historically has always had lots of families where, families on this farm here, grandparents on this farm, brothers on this farm, so they've had a lot of extended care within the area. But recently, a lot of those farms are being sold, and we tend to get families moving in and wanting the country life. That makes sense. So buying the farm building as a house, and not as a working farm, but as a rural house with a big garden, whatever.
There's lots of shows and celebrities doing that at the moment, isn't it? To making it very appealing.
Yeah, but it's quite isolating. So quite often, if you've got this house that's sold for hundreds of thousands of pounds, quite often to be able to afford that lifestyle, one parent is working away and commuting, maybe coming back at a weekend, and then you've got a very isolated parent alone in that big house with no close friends or family around them because they've moved to this area, for that idyllic lifestyle, which sometimes can end up being quite lonely. So we've got a huge amount of parents that sort of fall into that category. So we really took stock, of the way that we offer support to families, and what we could offer, in terms of extra support, not just for children, but for parents as well. And, we started to try and make parents groups where parents could get together for chats, and we organised like meals out for mums and dads that they could go to meet other mums and dads, if that makes sense as well. We made sure that on our newsletters we just had like a section that had, phone numbers for like the Samaritans and Mind and, different organisations that people could ring to. So it was a bit of a sticking plaster in some respects, but we knew we had to do something.
Had to acknowledge it.
To just change the way that we were.
And do you feel that has had an impact?
I feel it did. Then COVID struck, and a lot of the things that we'd worked hard to achieve sort of fell away again, if that makes sense, because we didn't have the
everybody
opportunity.
became isolated, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I presume that affected your community quite heavily.
Yeah, very much. I mean, in quite a good way, because lots of people became very community-minded.
Yeah.
There were lots of small businesses all doing their best to survive, so they all came up with these really funky different ways that they could help different families and things like that, and get what they were selling out there. So there was one lady who'd been really heavily involved in our local outdoor pursuit centre, and with all different things. So she's a very active lady. She took to delivering people shopping on her bike. So she got a little trailer for a bike, and she was, pedalling along, delivering people shopping from the local shops.
Early delivery, isn't it?
Yeah, so it kept her very active, but again, gave that lifeline to people that were out in the different places.
Probably gave her a lot, didn't it? As in, her own mental well-being at a tough time.
I think a lot of people who were very active with helping out were often active because they knew they needed it too, if that makes sense. So it was like a very reciprocal help that, you know, people were giving and getting. But so we do need to sort of make amends really with the journey that we've made with, you know, supporting parental mental health in the community. But it's something that we're still aware of. So, you know, if we have got parents who are struggling, we always make sure one of us is available in the morning just to be able to usher them into the office with a cup of tea.
Yeah. Do you find you more receptive to identifying parents that are struggling?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we always take a step back and just think, actually, why is that mum getting upset that we've lost that child's best? What's going on? And it's actually, let's look at the bigger picture, you know.
It's not the best.
It's not the best. No. So yeah, it is something that we want to be a caring nursery, you know, if we want to be something for the children, but also for the parents as well. And again, like we've said, you know, childcare staff are the first line staff. So you're the first person to see somebody, you know, in the morning, the first adult conversation. You might be the last adult conversation or night time, you know, when they pick their child up too. So you've got to be just there and checking in.
Because ultimately your priority is the child, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And to make that child the priority, you've got to have happy parents as well.
Everything around them's got to be working well. Or working well enough. Yeah. We all have our bad days, but it's got to be working well enough that child
can thrive and develop.
Have you ever met anybody in early years who's thought, I'm going to get into early years because I'm going to earn a lot of money and that's my motive?
No, absolutely not.
Great, motivating.
Absolutely not. I think you can either work in early years or you can't.
Yeah.
You do it because
you love it.
You've got a real fond interest in it and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You certainly don't do it for the money.
No.
Hence probably why all these good practitioners that we're coming across at the moment are jumping onto QTS and doing PGCs and things like that to because at the end of the day we've all got to make a wage and a salary and support
it's
a family.
Just a crackers thing.
It's just but these are our most precious people of our society.
100%, and it's that start, isn't it, in life? And it's
Well, that concludes today's episode. Thank you, Heather, for your time, and we look forward to having you back on sometime.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.